to another snorkeling adventure. My friend Bill and I have been trying to film and photograph Gulf Sturgeon for a long time. Bill has really been... Speaking of sturgeon, anyways, it's pretty difficult. Sturgeon like really dark water, can be pretty deep, and even though it's sometimes easy to see them jump, they're just hard to find underneath the surface. Bill has been out with National Geographic photographer extraordinaire Jason. He's an incredible photojournalist, scientific photographer, amazing diver, and they have finally made it happen. Now these fish are massive, they're ancient creatures. For today, I've never seen one underwater. Hopefully that's gonna change. See how this goes, but hope you guys enjoy the video, and I'll see you underwater.
Is a much better bank to park on.
The water's so clear you can see the bottom. I saw sturgeon down there. Dropping the flag. Before we got in the water, we had to anchor a dive flag in the middle of the river to alert any passing boats that there was underwater biz going down. The flag's very important. Bill filled me in on the working strategy. Basically, we'd free dive down and drift along the bottom with the current until we ran into sturgeon. Picked a bad day to forget polarized sunglasses.
This is the deepest area right here.
Okay.
And there's a lot of them here.
Sweet. So like I said, sturgeon, you see them often jumping in different rivers along coastal Florida. I'm gonna try and film the jumping. I'm gonna set my camera up and just see if one jumps in frame. So we'll see how this goes. All right, hopefully this is good. Did I get that? I hope I got that.
That's what I think. The biologists don't like that idea, but I also don't like.
Did you find those sunglasses, Bill?
Looking sweet.
Those like Battlestar Galactica, like fish comes like right over top of the camera.
That'd be sick. Are you ready?
I'm
walk
ready.
Up? Do you want to walk up or you swim up?
I'm gonna swim.
Okay. All right, here we go. Remember earlier when I said the water was super clear? Well, that's relative. This is a Blackwater river. Visibility is usually around 3 to 4 feet on a good day. But with an intense drought, the visibility is now well over 10 feet. That might not sound like much, but conditions like this only come around every 20 years. Bill and I battled our way upstream. I was briefly distracted by some darters on the rocky ledge of the channel, but then I had to lock back in, because today we're after way bigger fish. As the sun appeared from behind the clouds, it revealed an amber aquatic world. This amber color is caused by tannins, molecules released by decomposing organic debris, like leaves and branches. Now, a large Blackwater river like this is not a beginner-level snorkeling environment, and my heart was racing as we reached the spot for our first dive. I grabbed a breath and dove down to the bottom. With the drought, it was only about 15 feet deep, but it still felt like I had arrived on another planet. The current whisked me along over orange sand dunes and plunged me into darker waters as I kept my head on a swivel for giant fish. I didn't see much at first, but then suddenly I could see a large shape looming in the distance. But between the dark water and trying to get my bearings, I already needed to breathe, so I shot back up to the surface and swam back upstream to hit the run again. This time, I was more lucky. The first sturgeon peeled off quickly, but right after that, I found myself staring up at a fish right out of Jurassic Park, the Gulf Sturgeon. Honestly, it was pretty tiring work, holding my breath for as long as I could while swimming downstream and then turning around and battling back up again. But each time, I saw more and more sturgeon. Having dreamed of snorkeling with these ancient fish, it was pretty surreal to suddenly be surrounded by so many of them. Sturgeon are one of the oldest surviving family of fishes and have remained relatively unchanged since dinosaurs roamed the earth. And they look like dinosaurs too, with rows of hardened, specialized scales called scutes lining their bodies, giving them quite the coat of protective armor. They are powerfully built, and these Gulf sturgeon can grow to be more than 8 feet long and over 200 pounds. Thankfully, on the far side of the river, there was an eddy. That's kind of like a gentle whirlpool where the water flows opposite of the current for a short stretch of the river. Bill and I were taking advantage of the eddy to get back upstream, and my legs probably would have fallen off by now without it. But the top of the eddy was a deep pool where there was basically no current, and in it was an abundance of other types of longfish. A large group of Florida gar was drifting in the water column, and some were even resting on the bottom. I did see some long-nosed gar as well, but I didn't manage to get a shot of them. And beside a small boulder on the riverbed, I also spotted yet another long and ancient fish, the bowfin, but it didn't really stick around. A few of the sturgeon would occasionally venture into the eddy pool as well, which was good news for me as I was no longer just blasting past them in the current. My initial instinct was truthfully to feel kind of afraid. I mean, a lot of these fish were the same size as me, and even just looking at their body shape, you could see this was a powerful animal. But they were peaceful, and honestly pretty shy. In fact, they really didn't like underwater noise at all. Thankfully, if we free dove quietly, Bill and I were able to get somewhat close to them. But if we accidentally spooked them, they would make this deep vocalization that sounded like a drum and blast off to another part of the river. Now, I really wanted to get a shot of their face. Sturgeon have 4 characteristic sensory whiskers or barbels. These help them to sense their food, which typically consists of benthic or bottom-dwelling invertebrates. Sturgeon also have a suction cup mouth that's really bizarre looking, so that'd be cool to see too. But so far, despite diving the channel time after time, I was having no luck getting a close-up look at a whiskered dino fish mug. Thought I was about to get it here, but then the sturgeon hit a hard left and veered out of the way. As I was working my way upstream via the Eddy Expressway, I saw something hiding among some of the rocks on the riverbed. It was a huge brown water snake. There's not a lot that could distract me from sturgeon, but a snake? Man, you know I'm a sucker for a snake snorkel. Wow, say that 5 times fast. Florida has several different species of water snake, and they are often mistaken for venomous cottonmouths, but these guys are non-venomous. Those blocky patches down its back and sides are a good giveaway that it's a brown water snake. This was clearly a busy snake. I followed him around as he flicked his tongue out, picking up some kind of underwater scent. Oh, I also got a giant leash on my hand here, but it fell off right before I could film it, which was kind of devastating, but we carry on. The snake was absolutely cruising, and it couldn't be bothered by me or by Bill, even swimming directly towards our cameras multiple times. At one point, the snake even wrapped its way around Bill before heading over to me. This might be some people's worst nightmare, but Bill and I were stoked out of our minds. This was awesome. Apparently this dude was gassed, because he fully posted up on my camera housing straight chillin' and catching his breath at the surface for a good 3 minutes. I couldn't get any footage of this as it was literally on top of my camera, but Bill took a couple photos. Then, suddenly, the snake dove back down to the riverbed and began systematically checking all sides of each and every rock. He was clearly up to something. I don't think I've ever seen a snake so locked in. and then it disappeared beneath a little boulder. With a flurry of sand, it emerged on the other side with a catfish clenched in its jaws. This catfish was about all that the snake could handle, but clearly this was not its first rodeo. My camera unfortunately decided to overheat at this precise pivotal moment, but I was at least able to get a photo off as the determined snake wrestled its prey back to shore. Understandably, the snake didn't want to be watched while he finished off his meal, so he took off a little ways and headed upstream to swallow in solitude. And then I remembered I was here for sturgeon. I made my way back to the top of the channel and dove down again. This shot is an uncut drift. As you can see, I ended up being down for over a minute. I know a lot of you guys are curious about how long I can hold my breath, and while I'm really just a mediocre freediver, I was decently proud of this breath hold. Blackwater can kind of mess with your head and make holding your breath extra tough, so over a minute is not too shabby in this scenario. Granted, the current was definitely helping me out. Towards the end of the run, a few sturgeon appeared in the distance, and I was back on my quest for an up-close shot of a scraggly sturgeon face. And I continued to fail again and again. Every time I got close, the sturgeon would continue to shy away. But then, just as I had almost given up on a run, a large sturgeon swam over me like a starship. I'd hate to be an invertebrate stuck in that tractor beam. And then I got lucky again and finally came face to face with this stunning prehistoric creature. These sturgeon are in the middle of a journey upriver to their spawning grounds. Although they spend their winter foraging in the Gulf, from spring to fall, Gulf sturgeon will travel hundreds of miles upstream in freshwater rivers to designated spawning grounds, before retreating back downstream to holding areas, until they're ready to make their way all the way back to the Gulf. Gulf sturgeon are a federally threatened species, protected by the Endangered Species Act, as their population was driven close to extinction by overharvesting, particularly for caviar. Despite the protections, they still face threats from polluted waterways, dams, and failed spawning events due to rising water temperatures and drought. Blackwater River like this might not initially catch your eye like a clear blue spring or tropical coral reef, but this eerie Martian realm is home to an abundance of life. I was kind of blown away just thinking about the sheer biomass of all the living things contained by these dark waters. The drought may have provided a window into the world of these prehistoric fish, but it likely means an unsuccessful spawn for this population of sturgeon. The sturgeon have survived an awful lot since the dino days, so hopefully a bum spawning year doesn't set them back too much. But we can't take the health and resilience of our freshwater ecosystems and species for granted. Hopefully the sturgeon will continue to be able to make their annual journey for ages to come. We were all pretty beat, so we headed back to shore. Oh, and you never saw Jason because he was on a rebreather setup and had been chilling on the bottom of the river for like 2 straight hours. Whenever he releases his footage, it's going to be so sweet.
You get that?
Alrighty, well, That was awesome. It's been a long time coming to snorkel with those fish. The river's an amazing place. It's definitely something that's worth protecting. Thanks for coming along this snorkeling adventure with dinosaur fish, and I'll see ya. Oh, that smells bad. See you next time. Hail.
Yeah.
I think one just jumped. Maybe.